Hello, happy Tuesday, and welcome to our Scrum chat room. I think this is day two. Kind of apologize for coming up about 7 minutes late. Was tied in the middle of something, but I did promise today that I'm going to talk about fun retrospective. So I'll definitely make this session very quick. But tomorrow we're going to be having a full session, right? Um, what I'm gonna do, since I already made that promise yesterday, I want to give you some of my key technique for having a very successful retrospective. And then we're going to take it there. Why I kind of bring out those cards, just drop a comment, let me know exactly where you're commenting from so that we take it out from there. Right. And I do apologize. I know some of you have been waiting for about 7 minutes now, but that's the game. So I see Cyprian from Houston. Okay, thank you. Just keep those comments coming, and if you could share and let someone know that we live and what we're sharing today is from retrospective. All right, I'm gonna go straight ahead without wasting much time. So, given that we're running behind schedule, first let's understand what retrospective is and the need for retrospective and why it's important to consider retrospective. Now, we are on the space of agile, right? And do we do understand that the strength of agile is about feedback? It's about how you help your team. And helping your team is all about how you have a conversation. Now, one of the things I always like to talk about Scrum or about agile is most often we complicate it and we make it look like rocket science. But I always say, think about it like you're in a relationship, right? And I always say, what do you normally do to get people like you? He said, nothing, you just be yourself. But most often when we join a scrum team, we're thinking, oh, am I doing something wrong? What should I do? How can I make sure that my team like me? How can I make sure that my team come to me? Nothing. You don't need to do anything. What you need to do, you need to build the capacity that help you on how to handle all the different aspects. Once you're doing exactly what you're doing, your team automatically get along with you. Now, one of those moments that enable you to work very effectively with your team is retrospective. When we talk about retrospective, what are we talking about? Now, we know we have
Exactly.
all the different Scrum events. We have the sprint planning, we have the daily stand up, we have the backlog refinement, we have the spring review and spring retrospective. Definitely, I know people coming from the Scrum field say, oh, the backlog refinement is not an official event, but I think we handled that yesterday, right? So if you did not watch the video of yesterday, go back and check what we discussed about backlog event. Just kind of a recap. We did say that when you look at event, don't look at them as official or not official. Look at them from the purpose of the importance, the relevant. The same way when you find yourself in a conversation or when you find yourself in an interview, don't try to discuss event, try to discuss the goal. Now, this one technique on how to crush an interview, right? This is a key I'm giving you. Most often answer question from a goal oriented perspective. What do I mean by answering question from a goal oriented perspective? Let's take a very common example. If I ask you, tell me about spring planning, or let's talk about retrospective, which is our core topic for today. If I say, tell me about a retrospective, or what's your understanding of retrospective? Now, many of you are going to answer like, oh, a retrospective event take place on the last day of the spring, and with the retrospective, we're asking three questions: what went where, what didn't went where, and action. And what I do is that I start with an icebreaker and all of that. What are you doing when you do that? You're narrating activity. But then, if I ask you that same question and you approach it from a goal oriented perspective, you realize that you sound more like the leader you're meant to be, right? So, I'm going to approach that same question from a goal oriented perspective. Like, okay, great. A retrospective session, the goal is to help the team reflect on what they've been doing and find way to improve. That's all. That's all about retrospective. I don't have to go start mentioning the three questions. I don't go to start mentioning the icebreakers and stuff. Once I give this perspective or analysis, the person who is asking me already understand that. I don't only know what that is from the theoretical perspective. I do understand what it is from the practical perspective. Very important. Now we're talking about fun retrospective. I know many of you, especially those who are working as Scrum Masters, you have been having difficult time running with your team, right? Remember developers behind the screen, and then you're trying to get them aligned. You're trying to even ask question, and everybody say, "Oh, it's okay." Yeah, being tight, okay, we fine. We okay, we fine. So how do we break that up and make people really love to come to your retrospective? Now, the first shift, which is going to help you break through that, is that don't treat events as what I'm looking for the right word. Don't treat events as events. Let me say that right. For instance, oh, I have a daily stand up this morning. Oh, I have a retrospective tomorrow. What am I supposed to do? Now, whatsoever happened in any of your event is as a result of the work that you have done behind the scene. Whatsoever, you cannot, let's say you have like a co-worker, and all the time you just meet at the workstation and like, hey, what's work today? Fine, right? Compared to you have a co-worker, apart from you meeting them at the workstation, you always kind of check on them. Hey, are you did you leave home yet? After work you check on them. What happened? You realize that the relationship is more better whenever you meet. So many of you want to build relationship when there are events, and you're thinking about retrospective event as just something that happens once. No, it's a continuous process, something which you need to be invested in it from start to end in the whole concept of Scrum. And it's all about relationship. The better you can think about people around you whom you like to talk to them, right? You like to meet them. If they say, "Oh, I'm coming over," you're excited. If you're meeting out with them, you're excited. What makes you excited? It's not because of that event, it's because of the previous relationship you have built with them. So most often, many people want to come to retrospective. I'm looking for an icebreaker. I'm looking for a way to make my team talk. But your team do not know you. You cannot come at that particular moment and make the magic. So for you to have fun retrospective, the things you need to do is that you need to focus on building relationship with your team. How do you build relationship with your team? There is definitely no standard or best approach or best practices. The thing you do is that be there for them, check on them. Now, this is one of the technique which is going to help you build a very strong bond with your team. What I normally do with most of my team is on Friday, which is like everyone look up to Friday. After our daily stand up, I like, okay, team, it's a fun Friday, and I want everyone to be generous. Share what plans you have for this weekend. What are some fun activities you are doing so others can learn from it, and then everyone share about them. Now, I'm not just asking them to share for sharing's sake. No, the reason I'm doing that is because I want to personally document, understand what they're interested in, understand what makes them happy. With time, I'm building this relationship. Before Monday, I'm the first person before we have every event. Hey, Joy, what? How about your weekend? You told me you were going beaching. What happened at there? Oh, David, what happened? You told me you had a very big party this weekend. Any fun stuff there? What happened? I'm breaking the protocol and I'm building a central relationship with these people. Immediately I get into any retrospective, what happened? It's not about retrospective. They are now seeing me as someone they can talk to. And because of this, you are going to build, you make sure that your retrospective are fun. Now, I can talk about all the retrospective techniques and every stuff, and talk about all the games you can play and all of that. But without this solid foundation, it wouldn't make any sense. Just imagine you meet someone on the train station for the first day and you're trying to tell them a joke. Like, who is this person? Where did they come from? Right? Compared to this is someone you know, and then you're telling them that joke. It makes sense at that point. Now, with this, now we can go to the last phase of my talk today. It's going to be very brief, straight to the point, which is what are the techniques, especially when you're meeting your team for the first time, or you're working with a team that it's very conserved, right? Introvert team. Now, there are a couple of stuff which you can get people engaged with without any stress. Whenever I come online, you hear me say, okay, look, let me know where you're watching from so that I can give you a shout out. Now, I see a lot of people that actually commented on the board. I see Prince, I'm from Houston, Texas. Nena say, oh, Lagos, Nigeria. Hey, Lagos, Nigeria. Now, I can easily pick something from Nena and ask a question, and she will be able to answer. Not because I know her personally, but because I've given her the opportunity to bring out something which we can start relating, right? So if you see those who are good networker, when they see you, what do? They compliment. Oh, you're putting on a nice shirt. Oh, I like your haircut. Right? People like when you ask about them. When you ask about them, they see that you care. Right. So when you meet a team for the first time, your retrospective, say one thing which everyone can relate with. Not asking them to say, some people are very shy to talk. Many people that are actually typing here, if I kind of bring you on the screen and ask you to maybe ask a question, it's like, oh no, I don't like the crowd, right? But if I say, okay, please, just type in something, everybody can type. So the first thing I do is that I say, okay, team, I want you to be able to use the chat box, type one thing you think that it's just one word. If you were to describe this retrospective, what will you say? Or I don't even start with retrospect most of the time. Okay, if you type one word that you're thinking, what word are you thinking about in your mind right now? Now, some people will type food, some people will type lunch, some people will type my dog. Now, it makes you understand if they are fully invested in that event or they're thinking about something else. Now, this is information for you to understand your team. So you don't just come and say, okay, team, today we having a retrospective. Oh, Peter, how did it go? What? No. You bring up environment that help them, first of all, to shift away from the event, and then you now help them to do what? When somebody feel at home comfortable talking with you realize that automatically they start sharing what they not even supposed to. Why? Because they feel comfortable. So fun with retrospective doesn't happen during the retrospective. It's about how much relationship you have built with the team. Now, I do understand most of you work with very difficult teams and team members that do not even want to see your face, right? I've worked in so many agile spaces, so I understand all of this. But then, what's the key to breaking that gap? You're not there for them, you're there for the system. So shift your mind. You should be able to separate people from their idea. Immediately you learn how to separate people from the idea, you realize that so long as you're doing what is right, you won't pay attention to other people. Now, many of you let what other people say control the way you feel, control the way you think. Your PO can come in the morning and say something and it mess up your whole day. Or a developer from somewhere can say something like it mess up your whole day. It's not supposed to be like that. You are a leader, right? Leaders build mental strength. Mental strength. So you need to be able to prevail. And for you to prevail, separate people and their word. If the word doesn't matches what you expect, drop them off and move on. Now, this is how you now it doesn't come with just you thinking about doing that. That's why personal development is very important. Personal development is very important. Right. I know a lot of people is like, oh, I know my way, I can watch YouTube video, I can do this. It's beyond that. It's about investing yourself, not just online. Online, any stuff can disappear at any time, but in a community. Right. I think I talk about this a lot. If you are in this journey, you're feeling frustrated, the first thing is that maybe you're not in the right community or you're not even invested in the right community. Last week, I started talking to a couple of people which I offer a free consultation. I was so amazed how people are investing their energy in the wrong direction. Like, trust me, in a wrong direction. Like they're thinking they're doing everything right, but then when you look at, you can easily from just 1 or 2 minutes being with them, you can point out you're not doing this right, you're not doing this right, you're not doing this right, right. So now what I'm going to do for this session, I'm going to give 5 people the opportunity for a free consultation this week. The first 5 people that will send me a private message on LinkedIn, wherever you're watching from, send me a private message on LinkedIn or on YouTube, or those who are watching from Facebook. Or let me better make it easier for everybody. The first 5 people that receive a text, I have only 5 spots, please. So the fact that you send me a text doesn't guarantee that I'm going to grant you access to that call. right? I think last week I spoke to more than 20 people when I announced that I wanted to give a couple of people free consultation. So I'm giving the first five people this week. If you happen to text and you don't get any feedback from me, you're in a waiting list. I probably might open up some space next week to talk to you. And now it's definitely very free. But before I share also the number I want you to text on, I just want to give you a question. If you schedule a free consultation with me and you don't come ready, I'm kicking you out. I cannot block 30 minutes and then you're coming up, oh, I'm not camera ready, I'm not this. Then there's definitely no need to for you to schedule that time because you don't know the value of what you want. So if you're scheduling, you should be very serious about, I really want things to change for me. Don't schedule because it's free, right? Don't schedule because it's free. And also, mistakes a lot of people do when the schedule one-on-one is like, they come with a list of questions. Oh, I have 5 questions to ask you. This is a very big mistake. Now, this coaching I'm giving you, whenever you get an opportunity, don't come with a list of questions. Come with like, okay, look, this is where I am. This is where I want to go. First of all, receive an advice and a direction from the coach, and then after you can ask your question. But if you come like, oh, I have 5 questions, I know it's just 30 minutes, and then you ask all your questions, you go back the same way you came. So you definitely don't want to do that. So last 2 minutes and we're up. Sorry, I'm not taking questions today because I came in late, so I don't have time for questions today. Keep all your questions for tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to entertain questions for retrospective. If you have questions today, tomorrow I'm going to be talking about team performance. Then you can also bring the question tomorrow. So on the screen, if you pay attention, don't call, please. Send only a text, either a direct text message or WhatsApp. Send me a text. I'm interested in a 30-minute free consultation. And then for those who send, I'm going to give them the opportunity to schedule. And please, if you schedule and you will not be there, cancel way ahead of time. Cancel way ahead of time. You can understand how many people definitely want to get on the list. So don't just schedule because if you definitely don't need it, don't schedule. So for people who want my number right there on the screen, that's the number. Text me. If you can send a regular text, that's going to be much better for you. If you can send a WhatsApp text, that is still good, but a regular text is much better. I want to get on the list of 30-minute free consulting, and then I'll take it from there. Okay, wanted to keep this very short so that I make sure that you actually get the right information on how to get retrospective fun. Now, what's the key message? Fun retrospective is not about the best icebreaker. It's not about the best facilitation technique. It's about building relationship. The people you like to be around them, the people who make you happy, is because of how they have built that relationship. The same way, that is how you make your retrospective fun. All right, I'm going to see you tomorrow, and do have a great day. And if you have a question, keep it tomorrow, 12:30. I'll see you there.